Hey guys, welcome to episode 98. I haven't made an episode in like 3 weeks, and believe me, there is good reason for it. I have been busy. I'm going to drop a couple episodes for you guys this week. My creative side has been booming, and there's so much stuff I want to film and so much I want to talk to you guys about, so stay tuned for that. Today we're talking about two things. First, losing your sailing partner, which super sucks, so we're not going to talk about it for very long. And the second thing is some more positive stuff. Okay guys, first a disclaimer before we get started, and I wrote it down so I'm going to read it off the laptop. Obviously, with the previous first mate, didn't work out. But we have no ill will toward each other. There's no hard feelings. She was here for the first leg of my lifetime adventure. And we made some really good memories together. So no regrets. But because this episode is about sort of my side of the breakup, and I just ask that you respect her. This episode isn't for her, and it won't do her any good to see it. So please just respect her feelings. Please also don't wild out in the comments either. If you didn't like her or you have bad things to say about her, let's just not. Let's respect the memories, and she's an amazing and incredible person, and I think she deserves that. So, as you guys may know, I filmed a lot of this. We broke up down in Florida, and I brought the boat back home by myself. We had some help, thank you RJ, thank you LA. Like, huge thanks to those guys, but I got the boat home by myself. And I got it back to the Great Lakes. When I got back to the Great Lakes, her and I gave it another shot. So no harm, at least we tried, and made sure that it wasn't meant to be, because you want to be sure, especially with somebody like her that's that great. Like, make sure it's not meant to be before you actually walk away. Anyway, so recently we cut ties, moved on with our lives, and as a sailor you might be quick to grab the rum during a breakup. I know in my previous breakups I sometimes was, but this time I didn't. This time I was sober completely, no alcohol for like 3 weeks while I processed it. So I actually do have some really good, I guess, thoughts on it, on walking away from a relationship, and I think I walked away a lot healthier because I didn't drink during the process. So that said, here are the things I learned about losing your sailing spouse. Number one, there's no right person to cruise with. If you're out there about to plan your journey and take off on your boat and you're looking for your significant other, there's no right person. You're never going to find a perfect cookie cutter, fits on a boat, willing to live the life. It's just never going to happen. And it's slim pickings for people that are actually willing to do that stuff. So if you, one, want somebody who will do it, and two, have a bunch of other things that you're looking for, it's probably not going to happen. You're going to have to really compromise on some stuff. And then if you bring somebody for the sake of just bringing somebody so that you're not alone, I would say a couple of pointers. Make sure that you have an agreement ahead of time. Make sure that you set expectations and limitations, and then make sure there's airfare in the bank account just in case it doesn't work out and one of you has to bug out. That's all I'm saying. This is hard. You guys know from all the sailing channels, this is hard. The life is hard. It's work. It's stressful. And if your relationship isn't on point, it just isn't going to work out. It is what it is. Anyway, another thing that I learned, I guess, about sailing relationships or cruising relationships is when you're in the thick of the relationship, you can't really see the forest through the trees, right? So you really have to ruthlessly ask yourself, how does this relationship serve me? If things are going wrong, how does it serve me? And I realize now, looking back, that there were things that kept me in the relationship after it was clearly over. Love, obviously, which is good. I mean, it's not enough to keep a relationship going. I think it's the basis, but it's not enough. Her or his willingness to sail and adventure with you in this lifestyle, that's a big deal, and that's like one of the big reasons to stay in the relationship, because they're willing to do it. So you love them and they're willing to do it. That's two huge things, right? And of course, not wanting to be alone, I think, is one of the reasons I stayed in the relationship beyond when it was really over, which sucks and it's super sad. But I urge you, if you're in one of these relationships, step back and see the forest through the trees. You really have to. If the relationship isn't motivational and strengthening and making you a better person, or making you strive for the stars and chase your dreams, then it's time to walk away, for sure. for sure. That's just like general relationship stuff, right? And you guys all know that stuff. So living on a boat and adventuring will bring out the worst in both of you. It's a very stressful life. And I think what I want to say is, if the worst thing that they do crosses some sort of a hard no boundary that you have for yourself, then when you get on that boat, it's going to happen a lot. That boundary is going to be crossed over and over and over again. So I think if that person could ever cross one of your hard no boundaries, the boat thing isn't going to work. It just won't, because it does bring out the worst in you. And anytime you let somebody bend one of your hard no's, bend one of your super structural hard no boundaries, anytime you let them bend it, it's sort of, you lose a little bit of yourself because you bent. So if you have some hard no's and they're willing to bend them and you're willing to let them just to keep the relationship alive, you're just going to lose a bunch of yourself. And I ended up sort of like an empty shell of a person by the end, because I didn't stick to like my guidelines for a relationship and my guidelines for a person, and I just let it bend and bend and bend so many times that I was like, I lost myself. So when I became single again recently, I started finding myself and going, whoa, like, dude, you're awesome. You're a great person. Don't bend for anybody, man, for sure. Okay, so now on to the better stuff. And I know that was all sad, so let's have a little drink of beer, and we'll never mention the relationship again, and we'll move forward together. Clink. Okay, so this next part, it gets positive. So I moved out, don't need the computer anymore. That was my whole written speech. So I moved out a little while back and been up on my own, getting things moving, been a lot of sailing, and of course, single guy, had a few dates, girls that are like, oh, I'll come sailing with you and that kind of stuff. Because around here, everybody knows the YouTube channel, and it's like, they sort of know who I am. And it's sort of a good first date thing, because when I go on these first dates, I've been on a few now, they sort of already know who I am. And they already know all about me. So the questions they have are more about the adventure and things like that. And it gives me a really, you know, if you're nervous on a first date and you don't know what to say, well, it's a good talking point. So it made things really easy to go on first dates. Took a couple people sailing, went swimming, took one girl racing with us for a race. That was her first time on a sailboat. We went racing. What a cool experience. Very good time. But anyway, there's another girl who, I'm not going to say who, but her name starts with a K. Don't read too far into that. This boat wasn't named Lady K after the previous girl. Her name actually starts with a C, and a lot of you guys thought that's why the boat was named K. It's not. It was just always named Lady K. But anyway, I went on a date with somebody whose name starts with a K, so I was like, oh, knock on wood. Anyway, yeah, we've known each other for like 8 years, but never really got that close. And we got to talking, and I said, hey, why don't we catch a sunset sometime? So here's a picture. Yeah, we went and caught a sunset, and we stayed at the beach until like 2 o'clock in the morning watching the night, I guess, watching the stars. It was really cool. It was a great experience, and we've been on a few dates since. I don't know that she'll ever get on camera, and I'm not going to hit the gas too hard. Things aren't crazy serious yet, but you got to take your time, right? You got to protect yourself and again, your boundaries, and build something on trust and mutual respect and all that kind of stuff. So maybe you guys will get to meet her at some point. It should be pretty cool. Anyway, so that's all the crazy stuff I wanted to talk about. There's one more thing that happened. So you guys may have followed me on my personal Facebook page, and maybe the Lady K page too, where I posted about we went out sailing and we busted a stay and almost lost the mast. I want to tell you guys that story because it's pretty epic. You can probably see the CNC 38 behind me. She's a sort of purebred race boat. She's got a hydraulic pump on the bottom of the backstay. And like sort of a mini stay on the front that goes halfway up the mast to make sure that when you pump that hydraulic pump, she'll bend the mast really well. She's got a 7-foot drop board, like a swing board on a crank. Oh, she can point like you would not believe. So it was blowing. It was registering here in the marina. It was registering 18. It was registering 22 knots out there. And we went out the channel on that boat. 3 of us, and the guy who owns it, he's just a great guy, and he said, let's go sailing, Timmy, let's go. So we went, 3 of us, and we're going out the channel, 22 on the nose, roll out the canvas, kill the diesel, the boat puts her rail in the water, and she just sailed. That boat can sail like you wouldn't believe. A CNC 38, look at one of those. Wow. So she's sailing, and water's flying up over the bow, over the Dodger, it's crashing down in the cockpit, everything's soaked, we're all soaking wet. What a great time. And the owner's screaming, Timmy, I love this, I love it. It was a really cool time. So anyway, after about 20 minutes of sailing up the channel, dead up wind, and she points that high, I was helming and, you know, standing sideways and just having a great time, and he was up running the sheets, and we were really hardened up on all the sails. And there was a ping, bang, and we all kind of stopped and looked around, and the heel kind of let off a little. Sorry, the hunter beside me started peeing because his air conditioner's running. So anyway, there's a ping and a bang, and the boat kind of let off the heel a little bit, and we all looked around like, what was that? What was that? And I noticed a turnbuckle on the floor beside my foot. A little bit scary, and I kind of looked around, and there was no more backstay. Luckily, we're pointed up, so the wind actually held the mast up, and I'm going to take you guys with me. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. I'll show you what broke. So, his backstay is different than mine. So, you got the turnbuckle and the threaded rod part. So his doesn't thread into a turnbuckle, his threads into a hydraulic cylinder with a sort of a jack handle on it. Well, it was threaded in about an inch of this, and it's rod rigging, and it's like a 3/4 inch shaft. This is probably only a 1/2 inch shaft, and it pulled the inch of threads right out of the sort of threaded part on top of the hydraulic system, pulled it right out, and it was just bare, no threads at all for that bottom inch. So I don't know if something was wrong, or if the metal had weakened, or was fatigue, or I don't know. The boat's in incredibly good shape. He takes really good care of it, and it's a beautiful, well-made boat, and it's not even as old as this boat. But yeah, boom, right out. So it was about 20 minutes before we got it settled, but luckily, we've been in a few close calls and a few scrapes. You guys know that. And I sort of knew what to do. So he started rolling the jib up immediately. I reached down and hit the diesel and got it running, put it in gear, and I pointed the bow straight into the wind and got about quarter throttle just to keep us sort of stationary. But it was like 4-foot whitecaps, so the boat's just bang, bang, shooting water everywhere. And the mast, I could see the furler going back and forth several feet in either direction. That was a little bit scary, I'll tell you guys that much. This was the second scariest thing I've ever done on the boat. You know what the first thing was. Anyway, so yeah, he drops the mainsail. I'm still holding it up into the wind, and it's bashing all over, and the mast is now moving with no sails up, right? You have nothing to stabilize the mast, and there's no backstay, and so all the other stays are loose. So she's wobbling around and moving, and the furling's going back and forth. It was crazy, and we're soaked. There's still water spraying up over the Dodger. So anyway, we got a line, and at the bottom of this backstay, there's a hole in it. There's an eye hole with some of the turnbuckle stuff. So I got a line through the eye hole, maybe a 3/8 line, maybe a little smaller. Did 2 wraps around the hydraulic gear and came up to his primary winch, and got it around the primary winch, I think 4 wraps, then through the self-tailer, and I got out from behind the wheel and I winched the living crap out of that. I've never turned a line so tight in my life. When we were done, it went right across the cockpit from the hydraulic gear at the back up to the winch. When we were done, it was so tight you couldn't even ping it like a guitar string. It was like a metal pipe. You could actually stand on that line and it wouldn't give at all. It was incredibly tight. But anyway, that got us the confidence to spin the boat around, put the wind on the stern, and ride the rollers all the way back in. So it was pretty good after that. The furling was still moving around a bit. It still wasn't, perfect. But he's a machinist, so he actually fixed it. It's already fixed. And she's, I think, ready to go out sailing again. I'm not sure. I'll be going out with him again, but it was an experience. So if you guys have never been on a boat where the stay is snapped, it's what do they say about sailing? It's all peaceful, followed by 1 minute of sheer terror. That was that minute. That was that. You pay for the peacefulness and the serene bliss with that 1 minute of terror. So absolute terror. Anyways, guys, that's all I wanted to talk about this episode. We've got a couple other things that you guys wanted me to do episodes on. I'm going to get started on those, and we'll try to drop a couple of them this week to get you guys back up to speed. I wish you all very, very well, and I will see you for all the cool adventures that are coming up.